if you know anybody else who might want to join our discussion tonight about the topic of coloring books, go ahead and share out this broadcast with them so they will be able to join in the discussion as well. So again, this was a very hot topic over in our Preschool Teachers Are Superheroes group. So I wanted to jump on and do this live tonight for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm kind of known on the internet for my strong stance on a couple of things. And one of them is the use of worksheets and the use of letter of the week in the preschool classroom. So Tom has links to both of those blog posts that he'll drop for you in the comments below. And so quite often those two posts are how people find pre-K pages. And so, and it's so funny how they came about because they were written years and years ago. I've updated them over the years, but many years ago they were written by me as I was encountering all of this in my daily teaching practice. And I was getting really frustrated by people using worksheets and by letter of the week and all that. So anyway, I wrote those two posts, and I've always said that I would do one about coloring sheets as well, and I just never did. So I thought this would be a great starting point to get us going tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's the thing about coloring books. Are they bad? And let me just start off by saying, no, they're not bad. So if you're a parent and you have a coloring book in your house, you're not a bad parent. If you're a teacher and you've ever used a coloring book in your classroom, you're not a bad teacher. We're just going to look at all of the information surrounding coloring books, and I'll let you come to your own conclusion. But we might all, well, I don't know that we would all, but some of us would agree that we have fond memories of coloring books from our childhood, because somebody mentioned in the group that they can be relaxing. So maybe you remember when you were a child, a happy time when you were coloring one of your favorite pictures, you were smelling your new crayons, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with coloring a harmless picture, but I will say that the coloring books don't add value to the classroom. So using them at home in your own personal life with your own children, there's nothing wrong with that, because kids are awake a lot of the time, right? And sometimes we need them to be up and sometimes we need them to be down, and coloring books can be handy for that. But I just don't feel they have a place in today's classroom. So they just don't add any value. They're not the type of materials that we would use in the classroom, because our students deserve more. They deserve better, right? They deserve the tools that we as professional educators know that they need to learn and grow. So we know so much more about teaching now today than we have ever known about teaching before in the history of teaching. We know how children learn, and we know how to best meet their needs to help them. So just like as a professional educator, we don't view coloring books as an appropriate classroom activity, just like we don't consider M&Ms an acceptable lunch for the children in our classrooms, right? So there are certain things that we deem appropriate and not appropriate based on the current research. And so that's what I'm all about. If you know me or Pre-K Pages, you know that I'm all about the research. I think my comments are frozen. All right. Hey, Saris, welcome. Okay. So we know that children need to be able to express themselves, right? And one of the ways that children can express themselves is through art, right? And so we're going to provide them with those opportunities they need by providing them with crayons and markers and paint and brushes and paper and all different types of paper, all different colors of paper. We're going to provide them with what we normally call an art center, right? We're going to provide them with that and let them explore, because then they can use their imagination and their creativity. So they don't need the confines of the coloring sheet in order to be creative. So I'm going to get to some of the arguments against those in a minute and give just some of my feedback on that. But part of being that professional educator that I'm talking about, a professional educator of young children, is the idea of being a lifelong learner. I've always called myself a lifelong learner. I'm sure I heard that somewhere along the way, but I really like that thought of teachers being lifelong learners, right? We're always learning about best teaching practice and rethinking the way we do things based on current research. So I'm sure you've all known a teacher in your life who maybe was teaching, it was her 33rd year, and she was teaching really the first year just over and over and over again. And I know that's not you out there, but there's many, many of you that have been teaching 30 years and you're continually lifelong learners. You're constantly embracing best practices, reflecting and making changes. And that's the difference in being a professional educator. So that's what we're all about here. So we're going to provide our students with access to all of these materials on a daily basis in our art center. We can see their little imaginations and their creativity at work, right? They become immersed in the process of the art. It's more about, I'm going to get a paintbrush from over here, and then I'm going to make this color, and then I'm going to add this marker to it, and I'm going to add some glitter, and I'm going to add some, they're just really expressing themselves, which they can't do as well on a coloring sheet. So we don't want to rob them of any opportunities for discovery and expression, deny them the chance to realize their potential and all that good stuff. So the thing about creativity is that it doesn't just lead to great messy art projects. That's not all creativity is about. Creativity feeds into other academic areas as well. It feeds into reading, writing, math, and scientific reasoning. Creativity supports learning across all domains. So it's super important in the classroom. And fostering this creativity is part of a high quality early childhood program. So some of you out there might be assessed by, there's many different entities out there in the US that assess early childhood programs. I'll let you name them in the comments below. But in those types of programs that assess early childhood programs, they frown heavily upon the coloring sheets for many reasons. Now, if you're a member of the teaching tribe, I have a lot of problems with some of these assessment companies that do this kind of thing, because I feel they can be a little too restrictive. But I will say that when it comes to the coloring sheets, I do agree with them on this point. So they're not considered a component of a high quality early childhood program. And if you're in a program that gets evaluated like this, then you may have encountered this before as well. And so the most important thing when it comes to the coloring sheet is that to know that often when it's something that we're familiar with is yanked away from us, it's taken out from under us, and we're told, no, this is bad, but we've been doing it all along, then we become, we try to find something to replace it, but we don't know what, because they didn't tell us. And that's always a problem. So I think that providing the research to support the reasoning behind it is really important. So here are some of the myths that I want to go over next. So that was my little spiel in the beginning, but hopefully these are the Q&As. A lot of folks said that coloring in coloring books helps promote fine motor development. Okay. I can see that point. I can totally see that point. But here's the thing. When we're in the classroom, it's all about the time that we have with the kids. We have this amount of time, right? Never enough, right? We don't have a lot of time with the kids in our classroom. So the activities that we choose to do with the kids in their classroom have to be chosen by us as professional educators very intentionally. And we have to make sure that those activities are the ones that will get the children the most bang for their buck, right? That will take them the furthest, that will further their development in more areas. So we're we're critiquing the things that we're doing in the classroom and using only those tools that are of the highest quality so that we can support learning across all domains. So, therefore, I don't feel that coloring sheets fit into that. So there's tons of stuff you can do to develop fine motor, right? You've got all kinds of you've seen all my broadcasts. I have more than 100 videos here on Facebook. A lot of them involve fine motor skills. I try to incorporate fine motor skills into everything that we do in the classroom all day long. And so if we are using tongs in math to sort pom-poms, and we're using tweezers in the sensory table, and we're playing with Play-Doh every day, and we're pounding pegs into pumpkins and all that great stuff that we do in the classrooms every day, then worksheets don't really have not worksheets, but coloring pages don't really have a place in there, because we've gotten so much great fine motor out of these other things that we're doing, right? So they don't really fit into the greater scheme of things. So that's my take on the whole fine motor thing. They help promote fine motor development. Yes, a lot of things do, but we have to balance out those things and look at those things critically to see, is this really the best way to teach fine motor skills, or are there other ways that I'm already doing this in the classroom that would be better, the children would be better served with? The next one is always a good one. The children love them. Well, of course they do. Children love what they're familiar with. Think back to the first day of school. It wasn't that long ago. How many of your children cried? Had you ever had a child cry on the first day? Because they weren't familiar with school? And do they like school now? Let's hope so, knock on wood. Because the children like what they're familiar with. If they're familiar with coloring sheets, and that's something they've done before, well, of course they're going to love them. And also the manufacturers of these coloring books. This is a commercial tool, okay? This is a commercial product that a company is marketing to children. So they're going to have cute covers, and they're going to have all the most popular characters. They're selling something to them, and that's what it's all about. It's not about, I don't let Disney tell me what to teach in my classroom. I'm the professional educator, and I know what is appropriate for children, not Disney. So children also love M&Ms, right? Sometimes they have them for lunch. And you and I know as professional educators that giving a child M&Ms for lunch and maybe some ding dongs, this is not an appropriate lunch, and it's going to have negative consequences, right? So I'm not going to be using the coloring sheets in my classroom, because I know that although children do love them, that they may not be the best thing for them. And I, as the professional educator, know what is. Here's another one that I get on everything, whether it's the worksheet post or the letter of the week post or anything. I used coloring books when I was a kid, and I turned out okay. Well, of course you did. But imagine, excuse me, how much better you might be if you would be provided with lots more creative opportunities than just a coloring book. Now, maybe you did. But a lot of us turned out okay despite of things that happened to us in our childhood, not because of. So I wouldn't say that you are the person you are today because you used coloring sheets. Maybe you're the person you are today despite of the coloring sheets. So when we know better, we do better. That's my point. Some of you in the teaching tribe have heard me say that before. So even if you've used a coloring book in the past, or coloring books in the past, it's okay to change the way that you think and embrace teaching best practice. And I think those are the most successful teachers, those who are willing to embrace change. And so I've heard, there's a quote by Alan November. It's like people who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. Those are the most successful people. That's not the exact quote, but it's something like that. But those are the most valued skills. Okay, another one. Should coloring books be eliminated from children's lives entirely? Well, no, of course not. There is a time and place for coloring books, okay? I'm realistic. So they're fine for those things like road trips, after school, going to grandma's house, those times when being passive is a good thing, okay? A lot of people, this one I'm jumping down on my list a little bit here, but somebody was saying, well, that's why adult coloring books are so popular right now, because it's relaxing for us to color. And it's true. Maybe it is relaxing for an adult. We're usually doing those coloring books when we're looking at the television or watching TV. And so it's just kind of a passive thing. Is that how we want children to be in the classroom, like they are when they watch television, to be passive? And also what's soothing to you as an adult may not be soothing to a child at all. I see lines, like I wasn't a big fan of coloring books because I never had great fine motor skills. And they used to stress me out if I saw them, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to color in those lines, and I didn't want anything to do with that. But I don't think they should be eliminated from children's lives at all. I don't think they should stop selling them. There's a time and a place for those. They sell them at hospital gift shops for a reason too. But should they be a part of your early childhood program? And the answer to that is an emphatic no on my part. Coloring books represent no teaching practices at all, okay? So they're not, and they've never been a teaching best practice. They're a commercial thing. They have nothing to do with teaching at all. They're just simply not good enough for the children in our classrooms. They're not what our students deserve, and they're not what our children need. So the great thing is that they're easy to get rid of because they're like $1 at the dollar store, right? If you have them, ditch them, give them to some kids who can take them home and use them there. So here are some more of those arguments against. If I have open-ended art available, I don't see anything wrong with having coloring books as a choice. And my take on that is that you're sending a message to the children in your classroom that coloring pages are something that you place value on. So think about it. If I put books on my shelves, along with the stuffed animal that goes with them, and I place those around my room, I'm showing children that I value books, that I love books. And they know immediately that I value them. So for example, I have a little girl who comes to my classroom for tutoring. She's a little bit older, and when she came to my classroom for the first time, she was just awed by all the books and the stuffed animals that I had that went with them. And she started naming all the books and the characters because they were familiar to her. And she said, "Wow, you really like books, don't you?" And that was in the first 5 minutes that she was in my room. She knew that I placed value on books. If the kids see the coloring pages on your art shelf, then they know that you also place value on those. And so they're going to want to, because they're familiar with them as well, they're going to want to please you by coloring them. Some children enjoy the structure, is what one person said. And that can be true. Some of the more introverted children, I know I was one of those who may have picked up a coloring sheet versus interacting with another child. Although I didn't like coloring, I might have done that because I didn't like loud noises and things like that. Those children can be encouraged to do something more, right? So if they're using the coloring sheets or the coloring pages as an avoidance tool so they don't have to interact with others and develop their social skills, then that's a negative thing. Somebody said they feel accomplished when they finish a page. They might. Don't you think they would feel accomplished if they did something else, like created a masterpiece in the art center, or they were using pointers around the classroom and finding the letters of their name? They feel accomplished about everything. We're not taking anything away from children by leaving the coloring pages at home. Here's one that I love. I get this one a lot. They need coloring pages because they're going to need to color in the lines in kindergarten. And my friend Karen at Pre-Kinders, she said this a long time ago. You guys, we've been on the internet for a long time, and I don't remember if it was 2003 or 2002. I don't remember when she said it, but I asked her at the time if I could take the quote and put it on my site, and it has been there ever since. But she said, why should we as preschool teachers prepare our children for developmentally inappropriate practices that might come to them in kindergarten? It's not our job to adjust the way we teach for a teacher who's not teaching developmentally appropriate. That's not how it works. We don't prepare children for developmentally inappropriate practices. So she said it way better than I did. Go over it. It's on the letter of the week page, I think. But Karen said that. If you're here, Karen, hey, thanks for the quote. I bet she didn't know when she said it that it would still be on the internet like almost 20 years later. So they don't need coloring sheets to be ready for kindergarten, because if that's the kind of kindergarten they're going to, that's sad. Here's a good one. If coloring pages are bad, why does my OT have kids do them. OT is an occupational therapist, for those of you who aren't familiar. So here's my take on this. I see myself as a teacher as the general contractor, and the child is the house that I am building, okay? I am the general contractor. So that means I'm in charge of everything that goes on inside that house as it's being built, right? And the OT is a specialist. The OT is in charge of a small portion of that house, just like the plumber is in charge of installing the plumbing in a house. But you wouldn't want the plumber to put the roof on, right? Or to install the appliances, right? Because that's not his or her job. So I am the general contractor. I am the professional educator, and I know what's best for my children. So from an occupational therapy standpoint, and I'm sure we have OTs in the audience, I love OTs. I learned a lot from them, but there are other ways to teach them as well. And maybe that's a strategy that your occupational therapist uses. That doesn't mean that you have to use it in the classroom too. So for an occupational therapist, maybe they do place value on that coloring page to teach those special skills that they're trying to teach. But I, as the general contractor, I'm not using those coloring sheets to build the house for my students. Do you see what I'm saying there? And somebody else said this is a good one too, and this is true. They're calling me on the carpet for this one. I thought you said we should always offer choices to children, and I do say that a lot, and that is absolutely true. Yes, but the choices that we offer to children should be acceptable, and they should follow best teaching practices. So if I gave the child the choice of eating their sandwich and their apple, or eating a big bag of Doritos and some soda, the child would choose probably the Doritos and the soda, right? But those choices would be inappropriate. Those are not appropriate choices. So therefore, I'm not going to offer an inappropriate choice to my children. I might say, would you like to come to the art center and use the tools in the art center to create something? Or would you like to use some shapes to create a house, or something like that? I'm going to offer them choices, but I'm not going to offer an inappropriate choice, right? We talked about the adult coloring books already because I jumped the gun on that one. So those are some of my thoughts about coloring sheets. I'm going to see if there's any more that I missed in the comments. Wanda says she loves that quote. That one from Karen, yeah, it's on the, I believe it's on the Letter of the Week page. It's been around for years. Hey, Elle, hi to your 4-year-old daughter. Coloring sheets in the late afternoon when waiting for parent pickup. At this time, they're no longer in the classroom. See, to me, now I don't own or run a center, but I have friends who do, and they would probably say as directors, that's a no-no, but I, as a teacher, think that would be okay, but I'm not licensing, so don't quote me on that. But that was from Kelly. But I know that my owner and director friends would say no. Vicki says she does a family project each month. This month it was a spider. And the children decorated it. I don't see that as being a coloring page. They decorated it, right? I don't see that as being a coloring page. Thank you, Devaney. Devaney's so sweet. There is the quote that I was looking for. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's the quote I was thinking of. The learn, unlearn, and relearn part, but that's from, yeah, thank you. In there, Elle, she dropped that quote for you. Hey, Serena. Limited time. Yes, that was my point, Al. We have a limited amount of time with the kids in our classroom. So we have to use that time really, really wisely. And that's when coloring sheets get squeezed out of the equation there. Hey, Tacey, welcome. Okay. Well, I have to say, I'm so proud of you guys. This conversation was kept so civil and so polite, and I was so worried about it. Devaney knows we had a little conversation before. I was like, I'm so worried. It's something I feel very passionate about, though, and I hope that I was able to reach anybody out there who might be thinking about this. And don't worry about, who was that? Spider lady. Don't worry. That's you're not a bad person. Don't worry about that. No, Pamela says, glue, crayons, scissors, stickers, they spark all kinds of creativity. That's right. Process art is full of choice. Exactly, Devaney, exactly. Someday I'll get Devaney on here to do like a split screen with me. It's coming. It's coming to Facebook soon, Devaney. Um, Sharon says, thank you for the input, a very valuable broadcast. Thank you. A pumpkin on a sheet to decorate is different than a Disney color sheet. I can see a difference in that. If it's something that you're offering, the lady with the spiders, I'm sorry, I forgot her name already. She was talking about a family project, and that's something that's different. But if you're using creative tools to decorate something, I don't see that quite the same as a color sheet. A coloring sheet just has one purpose and one purpose only, in my opinion, and that is to use crayons to color in the lines. But if you're using lots of other materials, and of course, I'm not your licensing agency or your assessor either, so take that into consideration as well. These are just my personal opinions. Take them for what they're worth. Elise says, I posted this, so that's how I know Elise. And actually compromise by adding more stencils to the center. Absolutely. I have found that stencils really promote hand-eye coordination because it's really hard for them to like hold them and then trace around them. I even have trouble with it. So that's great. Thank you so much, Elise. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for watching tonight and tuning in. And we will put this broadcast together into a blog post, and then I'll have the worksheets and the letter of the week and the coloring page one as well, because since it's been on my to-do list for so long, I was like, ooh, thanks guys in the superheroes group, I can get my blog post out of this finally, because it's been sitting in the back of my brain for years and I just never got around to it. So it's good to have like a 14-year gap between blog posts, right? That's a good thing, I think. All right, guys, I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm Vanessa Levin from Pre-K Pages. If you're not a member of the Teaching Tribe and you are a lifelong learner and you do like to embrace best practices, then you might, if you're not already, you might want to join the Teaching Tribe. You can get on the waiting list. Tom will drop a link below to the Teaching Tribe, which is my premium membership site for teachers of preschool, pre-K, kindergarten, Head Start, in-home childcare, and more. And over in the Teaching Tribe, all of the paid printables from Pre-K Pages are available at your fingertips 24/7 to download at your convenience. We also have video, on-demand video trainings, more than 40 of those. We have 41 now because we had another one last night. And they're available for you to watch at your convenience online as well. And they also come with a certificate of attendance for 1 hour. And then we have our supportive community of new and veteran teachers, a safe haven for asking and answering questions. I'll see you all next week. Have a great week. Bye.